So you've decided that you want to become a copywriter, and now you're thinking, shit, what now? Well, no worries. My name's Chris, and I'm here to help you break into advertising. In this episode, we chat to Casey Clarke, who's a junior copywriter at an independent agency in Sydney called The Hallway. And she's going to share her journey and some tips and tricks to help you land your job in copywriting. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and please remember to like and subscribe below. Hey Casey, and welcome to Shit What Now. How are you today?
I'm good. How are you, Chris?
Yeah, really good. Thank you. Really good. Thank you so much for coming on. It's been looking forward to having you on here. You're our first official copywriter on here. How about that?
Very exciting. Very proud.
So just on that, Casey, tell us a bit about who you are and what you do.
So my name's Casey, and I'm a junior copywriter at an independent agency called The Hallway. So basically, I'm an ideas girl. My day's spent writing, concepting, trying to crack briefs.
And Casey, tell us a bit more about how you broke into advertising. What was your journey?
Okay, so it's a bit weird actually, because normally I'd say people kind of fall into advertising. It's not something they want to do for a long time. Like normally when you're a child, you're like, I want to be a vet. I want to be a doctor. I want to be a fire person. Can't remember what they're called. Fireman. But really good with words for a copywriter. But for me, so have you ever seen Bewitched? It's like a TV show from like the 60s. It's about this witch and she wiggles her nose to like do magic. And essentially her husband, Darren, works in an advertising agency. So a lot of the episode plots are centered on him, like essentially like solving briefs and coming up with, they were pretty much just posters majority of the time. Anyway, so I saw that and I was like, that's cool. I want to do that. This was like me at like 8 years old watching this with my mum after school. Didn't really get what it was. But so I spent a lot of time after watching the show, like just as a kid coming up with ads, which is like such a weird thing. Like I haven't really heard of anyone else doing that. Bit of a weirdo.
Anything noteworthy from those ads?
Look, no. Like I had one where it was kind of like, I was like obsessed with this idea of like a toilet paper ad for like Kleenex or something. And I thought it was like groundbreaking at the time, but it's like, you know how everyone fights over which way the toilet roll should face? It was sort of going to be like a montage of like a husband and wife or boyfriend and girlfriend. And it's like them swapping it around and like doing crazy things to it, like super gluing it in so they can't flick it. And then they both were like walking in Woolies one day and they reach like up on the shelf and they like go and they both reach for the Kleenex, and it's like something we can all agree on. Anyways, super talented.
No, it's based on a true insight. So,
it's based on a true insight. So like, it's not like the worst, but I mean, it was relative to my age. Anyways, so essentially I just knew I wanted to come up with ideas. I had no idea what a copywriter was. I didn't know what any of the job titles were. So I started studying advertising at uni. I did a double major. So I also did social and political sciences because I was kind of like split personality, didn't know which way I wanted to go with that. Probably took me like embarrassingly like 9 months into uni to figure out what a copywriter was. Like I don't know, they didn't really mention the roles in the classes. So I like opened up a textbook and I was like looking it up and I was like, who actually makes the ads? Like who comes up with the ideas? And so I came across like copywriting as like the title, and there was also art director. And I was like, I guess I've always been pretty good at writing. Like, I don't know, when I was a kid, my mum and dad would like, if they had to write a letter for something important, I'd like write it for them and like pretend to be them. So, and like also in the HSC, like I kind of just didn't actually do anything of it because I was so good at bullshitting my way through it and like writing things. So anyway, I could make anything sound semi-okay. So I like saw it and I was like, cool, ideas and writing, that's me. I'm going to be a copywriter.
Brilliant. Just on that as well, I think it's super interesting. I actually think it's a big problem our industry has, is that people aren't aware of all the roles within the agency world. I mean, now obviously being in it, you kind of go, oh yeah, it seems so obvious. But from the outside in, when you're on that side of the fence still at school or what have you, it just seems like this big sort of gilded cage.
Yeah.
Did you kind of feel that as well? Yeah.
No idea. Like what is copy? Like I didn't know that was like words. Like I had no idea what that meant. And I think because some of the titles are a bit like almost a bit outdated in what they do. So I'm like, what? Yeah, had no idea. So then from there, I did like a little marketing internship because again, I didn't even know what any of the roles were. I was like, I just want to be in like some sort of agency. And I did that kind of, and I ended up kind of on the suit side. I realized after a few months I had a few too many screws too loose to be on that side. So I was like, nah, I'm definitely creative. I belong over there, not here. Then I did 1 week's work experience at DDB because I used to babysit for the head of art there. So like really random. Managed to get myself in, made a complete fool of myself. I don't think I spoke the entire time. So like, yeah, it's like can be really effing hard when you're like starting out to know. And like that was my first time in a big agency. I was seated next to the CCO who was feeding me opportunities and I just froze. Like I did nothing. Yeah. So it's kind of like I'm pretty proud of how I've gone from that to actually getting myself into a role.
And just touching on that, why did you think that was? Did you feel just really intimidated by the environment? Talk us a bit more through that.
Yeah, I think, look, you get a bit of imposter syndrome, I think. And I think like, you know, one thing like for me, it was kind of like I really felt like I just had to not have the answer straight away. In reality, no junior is ever going to have the answer straight away.
So right now, so I was thinking I could
Florals for spring. Groundbreaking.
No junior is going to, you know, win a gold lion in their first year. I mean, they might, but, you know, and so I think, but you put a lot of pressure on yourself, and especially in a place like DDB, like it's a real hothouse and like there's some really, really talented people there. And I was like, what? Why can't I do that? But it's like, no, dude, you're 20, you're fine.
I know the feeling. I had that when I was first starting out at Grey London as a fresh-faced account executive. And well, one thing I chatted to Ben about in my previous episode was the done thought leads to the big thought. And then and I think in that respect, it's just about just backing yourself. And I think within an independent agency, I personally feel anyway, you're more encouraged to do that. Whereas, as you say, in those sort of big agency environments, it can seem quite intimidating when there's just guns blazing everywhere. I do think it can go the other way, where you do just start firing things out and people are like, what?
Shame. Take
that ego elsewhere, thank you. Yeah. Based off kind of how Ben formatted his. I think my shit what now moment was when uni was wrapping up. There was absolutely like no entry-level copywriter jobs online, like on LinkedIn or anywhere. And grad programs are few and far between. Only one of them had like any sort of connection to creativity. So I was like completely panicked. And then I saw someone had liked a random post on LinkedIn for Western Sydney Ad School, which is a copywriting and art direction 12-week intensive course similar to award school. And I was like, crap, I'm going to do that because I have nowhere else to go. So then I did that. I came first in that. So I won an internship at the Hallway, which is where I'm now a junior copywriter. So essentially I did award school, went through that, did that remotely, which was a bit unusual. So didn't kind of get the same experience as normal. But then coming out of that, I started at the Hallway and did my 3 months as an intern and then fell into a role as a full-time junior copywriter.
Brilliant. And what a journey that has been so far for you, right?
Yeah. Chaos. Don't graduate the year before a pandemic is my advice.
So just on that, you know, you kind of demonstrated a few things there. I think one, just kind of just being a sponge and taking in whatever experience you can and kind of using that to push yourself forward as well. You also demonstrated just being inquisitive and just being out there, right? You spot that opportunity through LinkedIn. And whenever I do talk to people on this YouTube channel, it is so important that you know, you do have exposure out there and through LinkedIn. And when I say exposure, it's not necessarily going out there and trolling Mark Ritson, but it's actually it's actually just having your profile all set up and ready to go, so that when the opportunity is there, you are ready to strike. And that's exactly what you did. And I think one point I'd love to just touch on is kind of around like characteristics of copywriters, because I think when you meet copywriters, no two are the same. So I guess in your personal opinion, what would be some of the, I guess, key traits or personality traits or just general skills, other than being obviously good to being able to write properly,
Yeah.
would they have?
Look, I'd say a little bit batshit. I think no.
Slightly mad.
Slightly mad, but I think you need to just be persistent and like really just be driven and actually care about, be an ad nerd. Like you actually have to care about advertising to be able to kind of push yourself to do it, because like there's going to be, you know, days where it's really hard to get through something, and so you just need to have like persistence. You need to be resilient, because you're going to be told your ideas aren't right a lot, and you need to be able to just accept that, move on. And I think not having too big an ego is very helpful. Nobody, like we said earlier, nobody wants the like 20-year-old that comes in and thinks they're top shit. You kind of, and I think that's it. I think anyone could do it if they have the drive and they have like a creative mind, and if they're dedicated, you'll be able to achieve what you want to achieve.
Yeah, absolutely. Some really good pointers in there. Yeah. And lastly, for those people who are kind of coming towards the end of their education at the moment, maybe have done some marketing experience or have done some agency experience even, what would be your number one hot tip for breaking into the industry?
Look, I've got a few. So
shoot, I love it. The more the merrier.
Yeah, that's probably another thing for a tip. Well, that's a tip for copywriters. Like, don't just come in with one idea, come in with a billion. It is a bit of a numbers game. Yeah, so like we were talking about before, add everyone on LinkedIn, because you'll see like great work being shared. You'll see often people will post jobs just in like the format of a typical post, especially if they're like working within the agency, and often like people can get kind of bonuses and stuff from reaching out to their own network. So this can happen before it gets posted on like the LinkedIn jobs page. And I think another thing is I suggest like reaching out to like midweights and seniors, or like the equivalent of, you know, just like mid-level if you're on like not the creative side, because creative directors are really busy and a lot of them are very helpful. But you'll find that like people that are like senior creatives, they're kind of have aspirations to become creative directors, so they're more than happy to step in and kind of practice out their leadership skills, and they have a bit more time to kind of give you a bit of nurturing and help you build your ideas. And then I think making a list of all the agencies you want to look at is something that I found super helpful, because I remember when I was in uni, I knew nothing beyond like DDB, Ogilvy and the Monkeys. And I was like, oh, well, I've been to DDB and I flopped there, so where am I going now? But there's so many agencies you don't realize. Like I hadn't heard of the Hallway, but we have like big clients, so you've just got to look it up. I found the easiest way to do that is to kind of, if you're in Australia, hop on campaign brief, look at the hot and cold list, and it's got all the agencies in like your city, and you can kind of look them all up, make a list, see who has clients, see who has like the kind of culture you'd be interested in, then kind of make a little target list, and then from there hop on LinkedIn again, or look at and reach out to people you might know at those agencies. And then second last, sorry, keep going, is keep making work. If you're a creative, just keep making work. Don't go idle. Do courses, do like award school, Western Sydney Ad School, enter competitions, like do Young Glory, there's Young Bloods, there's a billion competitions. So just keep making spec work, because especially if you're reaching out to people, you can't just keep reaching out with the same book. They have to see new things. They have to see you're improving. They have to see you're dedicated to it. And then my final piece of advice is you can let yourself cry, but then just keep going. You'll get there. Yeah. Like there's going to feel really down in the dumps when you get rejection after rejection, but just let yourself cry, take a moment, take some time out from it, and then just keep going, get back at it. Yeah.
No, that's, Casey, that's absolutely fantastic, and some really valid points in there. I think a lot of the sort of actions you were kind of referring to actually, I guess, speak into a mantra I've always had, is like your network is your net worth. So it really is so important in terms of building your wider network, your wider connections, building rapport with those people, but also not being too, I guess, salesy with them, just getting to know them, having a coffee with them, and just being in the know, because you know, and as you say, as long as you stay top of mind with people and you keep updating your work, then you know you'll you'll get back what you put into it, basically, won't you?
No, 100%. And it's sort of like, you can feel a bit disheartened. Like if you're someone like me, it's like, my mum works in retail and my dad's a tree officer. So it's like, I knew nobody in advertising. I mean, I happened to babysit for someone. So like, it can feel disheartening when other people know all these different people in the industry, and you can be like, oh, they got a job because their dad worked here or whatever. But I think it's just, you can find these connections. You just have to look in the right places and just build rapport.
Totally. And that's the thing, right? That's that'll never change. I think ultimately it's that those people who have come from the outside in. I was similar to you. I knew nobody, and it doesn't take long to get to know people, and it doesn't take long to get to know people well. And ultimately, I think it's once you start building your network with those people, earning trust with those people, and being at top of mind, it's just a matter of time before something comes your way.
Yeah, 100%.
Absolutely. Well, Casey, thank you so much for jumping on and chatting to us and sharing your wealth of knowledge in terms of breaking into advertising. Your perspective has definitely been super valuable. So thank you so much for your time.
No worries. Anytime. Good luck, everyone.